I cracked 20 more vintage Pokemon cards from PSA and I sent them off to CGC. I spent almost $4,000 on this submission, and the results of this has me questioning the whole process. Basically, CGC took a big fat dump all over my cards. There's some results here that I just can't explain. I will be cracking some of these and sending them back to see how consistent CGC is, so stay tuned for that video. So let's get right to it. Okay, well, first up in this submission is Kangaskhan Jungle First Edition Holo. I got this one out of a PSA 8. My guess was that it was going to get an 8.5. There was one thing that was really weird that happened to me. If you look at the PSA scan, there's no white dot on the back left side, but there is on the CGC scan. I noticed right as I got the card. I don't know if it happened in transit, if there was like some debris in the slab that caused this. So I was like, okay, there's no way this is going to get that good of a grade with that little mark on the back. Unfortunately, it's really hard to avoid these kind of things, and there's really not much I can do about it. So CGC gave this card an 8, which is kind of what I expected. It's a bit unfortunate, but here we are. What are we going to do about it? We can't cry. We got to move on. So that's what we're going to do. Up next, we have Hitmonlee Holo Fossil First Edition. I got this one in a PSA 8. My guess was that it was going to get a 9.5. It looked pretty good to me. Yeah, there's some corner wear in the back, but in my opinion, not really out of the range of a 9. But what do I know? I'm a blithering idiot. CGC decided to give it an 8.5. So only a half grade bump here. Not great. Losing a bit of money again. I don't want to get your hopes up, but you know, things could get a little better. Up next, we have Ditto Fossil Holo First Edition. Look at him just sitting in some weird checkered void. I'm not really quite sure if he's in some kind of like cube dimension or he really likes modern flooring. I got this one in a PSA 8 as well. My guess was that it was going to get a 9. One of the few times in this submission where I wasn't completely surprised, CGC gave it a 9. Tiny little value gain. I guess I'm okay with that. I don't know what kind of thoughts are going on in his little tiny brain of his. Probably not much. Up next, we have Articuno Fossil Holo First Edition. I've been trying to get this card in a 10 for a bit, to no success. Every time I've graded it, it's come back a 9 from CGC, but I'm like, this time's gonna be different. Maybe we'll get a little lucky here. I got it in a PSA 8. My guess was that it was gonna get a 9.5. It looked pretty nice, but with the theme of this submission being me probably overestimating grades, CGC gave this one a 9. But hey, at least it was a grade bump up, so I can't really complain, but I'm not really too happy so far with these cards. Nothing's really gone my way. We'll see if it starts turning around. We have Blastoise Base Set Shadowless Holo. This one I got in a PSA 8. I was hoping that was going to get a 9.5, but after looking more closely at it, I was probably a little bit too hopeful. CGC gave this card an 8.5. Again, not really a good grade bump here, but what can you do about it? It is what it is. After looking at the card, looking at the back, there's probably some stuff that I missed that I'm like, yeah, it probably does deserve an 8.5, but that's okay. I used to think a PSA 8 was an easy CGC 9, but boy, especially with this submission, that has completely changed my perspective on this. Up next, we have Venusaur Base Set Shadowless Holo. Something very strange happened with this card that I cannot explain. I got this one in a PSA 8, and the scan looked extremely clean. But if you compare the PSA scan with a CGC scan, there's some markings on the back that are in the CGC scan that aren't in the PSA scan. It's really confusing to me how they got there, because I have no idea, but it's very strange. My guess was that it was going to get a 9. CGC gave it a 7.5, which is just catastrophic for me. So I ended up cracking the card because I'm going to regrade it. But even with the small markings that you can see, which again, I don't know how they got there, I still think it deserves at least an 8 to a 9, hopefully. And part of me is just sending it out to see how consistent CGC will be. I have no idea what they'll give this card second time around, but I guess we'll see. Oh boy, it is what it is. Let's keep going on. The third Shadowless card in this submission, we have Chansey Base Set Shadowless Holo. This one I got in a PSA 8. My guess was that it was going to get a 9.5. Maybe if the grader was having a good day, maybe they'd give it a 10, I thought. But no, CGC decided to give it a 9, which again, I guess is fine. A little bit of value gain. Whoever's grading my cards are a little bit more strict than usual. I think it's a combination of that, and maybe I just got unlucky with some of the cards that I bought. Up next, we have Chansey Base Set, just the normal holo. This one I got in a PSA 8. My guess was that it was going to also get an 8. After looking at it, after I cracked it, there's definitely some whitening. I didn't think it looked that great. CGC decided to give it an 8.5, so a half grade bump there, but we're still losing a bit of money because of the grading fees. And CGC 8.5s of a Chansey base set holo isn't really a sought after card, so I'm going to have to eat that loss a little bit there. Chansey is just so happy that that's okay. It's making me feel better.
Yay! Would you like to eat one of my eggs?
What? Oh, look, another Chansey. This one I also got in a PSA 8. My guess was that it was going to get a 9. But once again, the grader took a big fat dump on my card and it got a 7.5, which is horrible. And the general population believes that CGC is more lenient than PSA, especially when it comes to vintage. And I would have to probably agree, but here's a little bit of proof that they're still strict. Now, I don't know if this particular grader was just having a bad day or somehow he knew that they were my cards and he hates me. He has a personal vendetta against me. That's okay. Get in line, buddy. I know there's hollow scratches on this. It was hard to pick up in the PSA scan, and that's kind of half the battle here. Especially if you're buying cards on eBay, the scan will not show all the surface issues. Always a little bit of risk when you do this. Okay, anyway, let's move on to some nice good news here. We have Rocket's Mewtwo Gym Challenge Holo. Look at his aura sphere that he's building. I'm not really quite sure what he's doing, but he's awesome. He's got the goofiest looking feet, though. They look like clown shoes. I'm sorry, Mewtwo. I just had to say it. I got this one in a PSA 8. My guess was that it was going to get a 10. It looked incredibly clean to me, to my naked, naive eyes. But what do I know? Not much. But maybe CGC will agree with me. Let's see. They gave it a 9.5. That is officially the biggest jump of this submission from an 8 to a 9.5. That's not bad. There's a bit of a value gain. That's fine. I was contemplating cracking this one out, seeing if I can get a 10, but I don't want to be too greedy. I'll take the small win and move on from that. We have a Rocket Scyther, first edition, Gym Heroes. This card is incredible. My guess was that it was going to get a 9. I guess the CGC grader looked like that Team Rocket member down at the bottom right of the card. He's just really angry. And CGC gave it an 8.5, which is a whopping half grade higher. Woohoo! Basically hoping just to break even on this one. We'll see. Oh well, let's move on. Dark Alakazam, first edition Team Rocket Holo. Alakazam with his classic iconic spoons because he just loves breakfast cereal so much he needs 2 whole spoons to just hoover down that cereal as fast as he possibly can. I get it. This one I got in a PSA 8. My guess was that it was going to get a 9.5. There was a little bit of whitening, a little mark on the front of the car, but I was like, hey, you know, CGC's pretty lenient. You know, you'll get a good grade or something. And CGC decided to give it an 8.5. So this is another half grade higher. Not great. I really do think I got a stricter grader here, but I also think it's a mix of maybe my cards aren't as nice as I'd hope they would be, but it is what it is. Another dark card. Dark Blastoise Holo, first edition Team Rocket. One of my favorite vintage cards. Blastoise's rocket cannon is just staring down right into your face on this card. Just, he's ready to strike.
I'm gonna scorch ya.
Please don't. I got this in a PSA 8 as well as most of these cards in this submission. I thought it looked incredible. So my guess was that it was going to get a 10. And whew, boy, was I wrong. CGC decided to give it an 8.5, which is another half grade higher. Oh, man. I did crack this one. I'm going to send it back as part of the next video where I crack CGC and send it back to CGC just to see what happens. So stay tuned for that. Fun times. Okay, up next, Ampharos Neo Revelation First Edition Holo. This card has a nice little mouth swirl on it. He's like barfing up a little swirl. And he's doing a little butt jiggle with it as well. This one I got in a PSA 8. My guess was that it was going to get a 9. I thought it looked pretty nice. Give me something a little better, CGC, please. And CGC gave it an 8. Oh, I don't know. I guess I'm just confused a little bit on this one. I don't really think it deserves an 8, but what do I know? I'm an idiot. I also cracked this one to send it back just to see what happens. So we'll see. I'm hoping it'll get a 9. Fun times for me. Up next, one of my favorite cards in Neo Genesis. We have Slowking First Edition Neo Genesis Holo. This one I got in a PSA 8. I, once again, thought it looked incredibly clean, so my guess was that it was going to get a 10. Look, Slowking staring right at the swirl.
It is beautiful.
There is a little line of scratching along the holo, as you can see. CGC decided to give the card a 9. I've had CGC 10s with worse holo scratching, so I cracked the sucker out and I sent it back to CGC as well, just to see what it's going to get. I told you I like this card. We have another Slow King Neo Genesis First Edition Holo that I got in a PSA 8. You know, when I was buying this card, I, for some reason, did not notice that huge scratch on the front of the card on the holo. But when you're holding the card, it only really appears in a certain light. But I didn't think it was too bad, so my guess was that it was going to get a 9. CGC hates this card. It gave it a 7.5, so that's another card in this submission that CGC graded lower than PSA. A vintage card. I thought that was really hard to do, but I've done it now 3 times in this submission now. Really impressive. Not too happy about it. I mean, after looking at that horrible scan, if you really look at the card in a certain angle, yeah, it's pretty bad. I could see it deserving a 7.5. I should have done a better job looking at it before I bought it. I'm just gonna go ahead and sell it and move on at a loss. That's okay. Up next, we have Jump Pluff Neo Genesis First Edition Holo. Such a cute and adorable card.
I love spreading my spores. Oh!
I got this one in a PSA 9, so I'm thinking, okay, it looks very clean. It's a PSA 9. I think there's a pretty good chance of 9s going into CGC 10s. CGC decided to give it a 9. I'm just so distraught at this point. Just nothing's going my way this submission. So I cracked this guy out again, and I sent it back. Okay, up next we have Meganium Neo Genesis First Edition Holo. If you couldn't tell, I love the Neo Genesis set and I love the second generation of Pokemon. It's my favorite. I got in a PSA 8. Looking at that scan, I was like, oh, I have to get this. It looks so nice. It looks incredible for an 8. PSA, what are you doing? So my guess was that I was going to get a 10. But CGC was like, you know what? That didn't deserve an 8. That deserved a 7. So yeah, I don't really know why. I can't really explain that one besides CGC just absolutely just taking a huge mud pie and smearing it all over my card and said, ha, this is what you deserve, you idiot. Okay, so I cracked this one out and sent it back in again. That's the 6th one of this submission that I cracked out and sent it back. Haha, it's fun. This is a great time. I'm having a great time this submission, if you can't tell. It's fun. It's great. It's awesome. Okay, so I got the other Meganium Neo Genesis First Edition Holo. This one's really cool. I like his long, goofy little neck going on there, and he's like chomping on some trees. I thought this card was really clean as well. I got this one in a PSA 8. One little scratch on the holo near his mouth. So I was like, okay, you know, I could see it getting a 9. And there's a little bit of an issue in the back as well. CGC decided to give it a 7.5. Oh, how generous, CGC. You gave me a half grade higher than the last Meganium. Thank you so much. So I cracked that one out again. I sent it back to CGC. So that's 7 cards in this submission that I'm cracking out and sending to CGC just to see what we get back and see how consistent they are. So that's a total of 5 cards in this submission that have graded lower with CGC than they did with PSA. There's only been one other time when that's happened out of like the 60 to I think 80 cards now that I've submitted. So either I got a really, really strict and upset grader, or I just did a terrible job buying and pre-grading these cards. Okay, last card in the submission. The pain is almost over. Just gotta power through it. We have Butterfree Expedition Holo. This one I got in a PSA 7, and I saw this card and I was like, there's no way this is a 7. It looks way nicer than a 7. But I'm starting to lose hope. I'm starting to question everything that I do now because I just don't know anything. My guess was that it was gonna get a 9, and CGC gave it an 8.5. And at this point, I'm like, I can't even complain. I'll take the grade and a half bump up. That's fine. I'll live with it. I'll sell it hopefully for a little bit of a profit and move on. Let's go over the final results. Our total cost was around $3,900 and our new value is around $4,200. So our profit is almost $300. So if you consider all the time I spent cracking the cards, sourcing the cards, packaging them up to ship them out, checking every other day to see the status on the CGC website, you know, that's not a great return. It's definitely been the worst CGC submission yet, so I'm giving this a big fat D. D for the proverbial dump that CGC took all over my cards. But I still have plenty more submissions out with CGC. I'll have more out with PSA, so stay tuned for more interesting videos, and I'll see you next time. Bye!